are going to continue talking about that polar coordinates. So this is still 6.4, excuse me. We're in polar land, polar coordinates. But today we're going to talk about those polar equations. So we're going to be converting from either polar to rectangular, or we're going to go from rectangular, which is our normal with x and y, to polar. So we're going to go either one way or the other. The three things that I mentioned yesterday that you really make sure you need is I need to remind you that x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And I want to remind you that x equals r cosine theta and y equals r sine theta. Now there's a couple other things that might sneak in along the way, but you guys are going to help me out with those. All right, so here is example number 1. I want you to change it. Change to rectangular. We're going to start off with kind of an easy one. Let's say I have r equals, let's go -3 cosine theta. And we're going to change it to rectangular. The first thing I need you to do is step 1, I want you to multiply both sides by r. All right, so if I multiply this side by r, I get r squared. If I multiply this side by r, I got -3 r cosine theta. All right, step number 2, we're going to substitute, sub in for r squared, and I'm going to write it as trig, but it's the r cosine theta. So what did we say r squared was? Good, x squared plus y squared. I'm going to change that out. Over here, r cosine theta represents what? X. So on this side I have -3x. So then all I'm going to ask you to do right now is I now want you to set up the equation as a circle. All right? I want to remind you, a circle equation in our rectangular coordinates is in the form, right here, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? That looks familiar, where the center is hk? Okay, I just want to make sure we all remember that. So the first thing I'm going to do is move this 3x to this side. So I have x squared plus 3x. I'm going to leave a little space here for a second, plus y squared equals nothing on that side. And I'm going to leave it blank for a minute. Everybody's okay with that? All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the square. Oops, step 3, we moved to the left. And then step 4, complete the square. So, who can remind me what complete the square means? Oh, we take this middle number right here, we divide it by 2 and square it. Right? So we're going to take 3, we're going to divide it by 2 and square it. So I'm going to add, if I take 3 divided by 2 and I square it, I get 9/4. If I add something to the left, then I have to add the same thing to the right. So I get 9/4. We're all still good? So now the last thing you're going to do is write it as a circle equation. So write as circle. So that means this first part, we're going to write it as a factored form, which is x and half the middle number, quantity squared plus y squared equals 9/4. So that tells me my center of this circle fell at -3/2, 0, and that my radius is 3/2. Remember these? There was one on that practice SAT we just did before break 2 that had one like this on there, where you had a circle equation. We did circle equations like the pre-chapter this year. Did it last year? Okay, I just want to make sure we're remembering circles before I keep going. Okay. All right, let's do another example. Example number 2. Let's try another one a little bit different from that one. So what if I gave you r equals 4 sine theta? Again, I want to change it to rectangular. What am I going to do to both sides first? Multiply both sides by r. So I get r squared equals 4r sine theta. Now I switch out the r squared and the r sine theta, right? R squared equals, good, x squared plus y squared. And over here, r sine theta equals, y. Very good. So we get 4y over here. Then we said the next step was to move that term over. So this time that goes with my y. So I have x squared plus y squared minus 4y, I'll leave a space, equals. Because I want to keep my y's all together, right? Nope, because this is a y. It goes with this one. Okay? Depends which one it goes with. So now I'm going to complete the square with the y's. So here I'm going to take half of 4, so -4 divided by 2 and square it. What do I get? 4. So I'm going to add 4 here. Well, if I add 4 on this side, I have to add 4 on the other side. So now I complete the square. Or now I write it as a perfect square, sorry. So I have x squared plus my y is what I completed this time, so I have y and half the middle number, quantity squared, equals 4. So this means I have a center at 0, 2, and a radius of 2. So you guys tell me, what do I need to go back and talk about a little bit more? Okay, so remember when I wrote that equation out? I have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, the center is my hk. So since there's nothing with x this time, it's got to be 0. Okay, and then of course y minus 2 means that my k is 2 for my center. Okay, good question. And of course, since r is squared, what's my radius going to be? I've got to square the 4, square root the 4, excuse me. All right. Example number 3. How about if I have r equals 4 cosine theta minus 4 sine theta. times both sides by r. So when I times both sides, I've got to distribute that r to everything, right? So on this side, r times r is going to be r squared. On this side, I'm going to have 4r cosine theta minus 4r sine theta. That's an easy step, right? Step 2, we replace the r squared with x squared plus y squared. And we replace the r cosine with x, good. And I replace the r sine with y, perfect. Now we have to move it all to the left, and we want to put it with what it belongs with, right? So I have x squared. If I subtract this 4x over, I have minus 4x. This time I'm going to leave a space. Then I have plus y squared. I'm adding the 4y over, so I have 4y. I'm going to leave a space. And then equals, and again, nothing right now. Anybody have a question with that step at all? Okay, so now we got to complete the square, but we got to do it how many times? Twice, exactly. Okay, so this one, I take negative 4, divide by 2, and square it. 4. If I add 4 to this side, I have to add 4 to the other side. This one, I take a positive 4, divide by 2, and square it. I get 4, so I have to add 4 to this side. All right, so I'm actually going to write 2 perfect squares now. The first one, it's x and half of negative 4, so that's negative 2 squared, plus this one is y, and half of 4 is positive 2 squared, equals 4 plus 4, which is 8.
What happens to the 2 extra plus 4? Is my way to put it?
Okay, so what really happens, here's what really happens, and I was just trying to do a shortcut, so that's probably my bad. Here's what really happens, Gabe, is I want actually factoring this. So if I were to draw my x, I would have a 4 on top, negative 4 on the bottom, right? Which means my two sides would be negative 2 and negative 2. So I actually have x minus 2 and x minus 2, which is what this is. Okay? I was just shortcutting it. But I can write it with the x and show you that I'm factoring every time if you'd rather. No? We're good with that? You understand where it came from now? Okay. All right, so looking at this, where's my center, you guys? What do you think? 2 for my x. What about my y? 2. Negative 2. Remember, this is x minus h and y minus k. So it's got to be the opposite. My radius is going to be the square root of 8. Or we can simplify that to 2 root 2. But yep, I'm good with that. All right, any questions? So let's do a couple going the other way. What do you think? All right, so here is example number 4. Let's say, let's change it this time. Change to polar. And I'm going to give you start off with 3x plus 4y equals 2. The only thing you can change up there, okay, first thing we can change is we can change out x. What can I change out x for? R. Yes, r cosine theta. Plus, what am I going to change y out for? R sine theta. Very good. Equals 2. All right, now, how do I say this? We're going to leave it right there. That's where I want to stop. So you can see we've changed out. We have no x's and y's. That's our main goal. We don't want any x's and y's left. So once I get rid of my x's and y's and I'm in polar, we can stop. Okay? So let's try one a little tougher. Example number 5. All right, for example number 5, let's try do x squared plus, how about y minus 3 squared equals 1. All right. So first thing I have to do is I need to multiply this thing out. Okay? How can I multiply y minus 3 times y minus 3? Thank you. Good, Gabe. The box. So I have y minus 3 times y minus 3. Y times y is y squared. Y times negative 3 is negative 3y. Y times negative 3 is negative 3y. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So I have x squared plus y squared minus 6y plus 9 equals 1. All right. Now I want you to move everything over except for my x squared plus my y squared. So move it all to the other side. So I have x squared plus y squared equals 6y minus 8. R squared. Very good. So this is r squared on this side. What is this one? Good. So I have 6 r sine theta and then minus 8. If I subtract 9 to the other side, yep. Okay. So, again, if you get to this point, there's no x's and y's left, I'm good if you stop. Okay? If, and this could happen, if you get to this side and there are r's everywhere, so maybe this 8 had a r sine or r cosine on it, right? Divide everything by an r. But other than that, I'm good if you stop right here. Okay? All right. So, everybody on a piece of paper. Change. R equals 2 cosine theta plus 6 sine theta into rectangular.